My name is Mark Hickey, and I've been working in computer software for a number of years now, having been trained as a physicist in an academic environment. And I made the move to computer software about 10 years ago. And I worked for a software company in the United States, which was building highly parallel business computing platform. And after that, I went into work for a large corporate international bank, investment bank, where I was involved in rebuilding an application for delivering files and messages in the area of custody and funds. And after that, I was contacted by Hibernian Recruitment and asked if I was interested in getting back into the software computing platform I mentioned, which I was working at in the United States. And I was very happy to do that and go back into an area that was very known to me and very much becoming even more relevant than it was when I was working in it. And I went to work for a company called SKS in Germany, and that's where I've been for the last month. In some ways, busier. In other ways, less busy. I mean, there's always a bit of busyness involved with getting set up in a new situation with new colleagues, working out different connectivity arrangements. It's a remote contract, which suits me very well. You know, in many ways, it's more inventive type of role, which is very pleasing indeed, because when you get into a job and you stay there for many years, which is what I did when I was working for an investment bank, you can kind of lose touch with that inventive spirit. And this new opportunity at SKS provides me with a great opportunity to be playful and inventive in something completely new and directly answering and trying to deliver to a client's requirements in a way that actually is more taking full advantage of what I think I can deliver. And then I'm very appreciative of that. A little intimidating initially, as you can imagine, but after a while, you kind of realize that the underlying technology, that the underlying core functionality is very well built and enduring, and the fundamentals are there, and it's nice to know that a good foundational understanding of those core functions and features serves one well. And once you know the core of something well, and the philosophy as well behind software platforms, it's very important to sort of get your head around that. And that's sort of an underrated aspect of technical work, and an understanding of the overall philosophy of why it's built and what need is it really serving, and why does it serve that need well. The advancements, of course, come thick and fast, but they're still built on that foundation. You know, it's like kind of a skyscraper. You have to sort of you have a footprint of the skyscraper, and you can go very high because you've got a certain area of land that you're building on. It's a bit like that, and I would say it's time well spent talking to people who designed, if you can, who designed frameworks or were involved with designing a framework that is very useful. It's well worth taking the time to understand why they built what they did and the way that they did. Well, first of all, taking, let's say, an American company, Americans do a lot of things well at scale. You know, the association tends to be that the cliche anyway is that everything is bigger in America, right? And that's true of a lot of companies. They scale up very quickly, and that's an advantage. I mean, they can do things that are very powerful with a big budget, but then there can also come with that a kind of a monolithic set of expectations around culture, maybe expression, and how people converse can become very conformist. And especially in this era, in the era we're in now, which is very, I would say, politically correct, and where there's a lot of concerns about identity politics and things like that, it actually kind of puts a lot of pressure on the working environment being watching what you have to say, and it's not as, let's say, free flowing as it may have been before, and that sort of takes over American large companies, I would say, to an extent that's not seen in other countries, but other countries are adopting that as well. I'd say in terms of the German contract, this is the first German company I've worked for. I've worked for German institutions before at an academic level, but I would say what I've noticed is that it's very encouraging to see as a lot of ambition in the German company I'm working for now. And I also noticed that there's a lot of humor, which I wouldn't have initially characteristically associated with a German company, coming as I do from Ireland. I was surprised and delighted to see jokes flying around at the same time as hard work being done. And that was very pleasant. Then in the Irish context, the Irish companies I've worked for, one characteristic that marks out Irish companies and Irish workplaces is that a sense of being able to jokingly criticize team members. We call it slagging off, which is something that is maybe not as prevalent as it is in workplaces in other countries, but we have a sort of a tendency to for the sake of keeping everybody on an even level keel, nobody tries to puff themselves up or get above their station too much with this attitude around, and that's something that's fairly more unique, I'd say, to Irish firms than other places. Then they're Irish are a bit more informal as well, I would say. One major drawback, I would say, though, with the German experience is having to deal with the German keyboard, where the Z and the Z and the Y are interchanged. It becomes very difficult. I'd say managing complexity. There's so much complexity out there. Somebody gets ahead and writes a great platform that everybody starts using, but few people understand. That's one challenge. Another challenge is documentation, because these frameworks and programs are written and they're complicated, but they move at the speed of light. They move faster than the documentation can keep up, and so that's a major problem, I would say, especially to hand off platforms and environments to new team members. I suppose on the one hand, if there's no documentation, you have to do more work to figure out what the software does or how it functions, and that itself is more work for IT engineers. So maybe there's a bit of self-interest involved there. I'm not sure. There's another thing I would say that is a challenge too. Being able to communicate to the public about different aspects of technological progress. For example, like understanding AI and machine learning and these kind of concepts. They're not new, really. It's still, at the end of the day, machine logic, but they're just new jargon. It happened a few years ago with big data as well. It just became a buzzword. And I think a lot of effort should be put into educating people, the public, about what these terms mean, and how in most cases, almost all cases really, they're not new things per se. They're just slightly different aspects of what computers and machines are good at. I would say if you're trained technically in some area, in some discipline, recognize that that's of value. And if your heart is really in technical work and you're good at it and you enjoy it, I would say stick with it, because a temptation will come, and this is a temptation for a person who is technically gifted and should stay at it. It does not apply to everybody, but eventually somebody will say, look, oh, well done. You done a very good project there, and you did a lot of technical work. Excellent. Now, we'd like you to come into management and manage a team and forget about the technical work completely. For some people that might be good, a good track, but for a lot of people who really are gifted and do enjoy technical work, they should really stick with that, because it took a long time to get proficient and exceptional in some cases at that work, and you should really consider carefully before throwing that away. And that would be my advice to somebody starting out.